Well, Russia is seeking an unfathomable sum of money from Google. Google reportedly owes the Kremlin $20 decillion US. That's about 35 Canadian. Now, what does that translate to? 20 billion trillion dollars. Dr. Evil wouldn't even say that. And just for context, the global domestic product annually, 110 trillion. Now, Google was fined for banning pro-Russian YouTube channels since Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Russia says the tech giant has to settle the fine or restore the banned accounts. Talk a little bit more about this is our tech analyst, Carmi Levy. Carmi, thanks as always for joining us. Have you ever had that much money, sir?
No, and honestly, my head hurts just thinking about those dollar figures. I've never seen that many zeros in one place in my life. So,
okay,
yeah.
So how did it get to this number? Where did it start? How did it get to this number?
This all started in 2020, so about 4 years ago, when Google in Russia originally banned those 17 accounts, including RT and Sputnik, which were available in Canada as well at some point before they too were banned here. And so at that point, the affected platforms took Google to court. They lost and they were fined, and basically you will pay this money, and if you don't reinstate them, it'll keep doubling. And that's kind of where we're at. It's been doubling, not quite sure how frequently, but there's no cap on it. It's been increasing ever since, and we've sort of reached this ridiculous figure that's getting all the headlines. And I think that was part of their strategy. They know, of course, it's bigger than the GDP of the entire planet by orders of magnitude, but it gets everyone's attention. I think that's what the Russian court is going for.
I think it's doubling every day is what it's supposed to happen. So this is a great example of inflation right here. What can happen if you don't pay off your debts, right?
It's a great math lesson for kids, no question.
Is it realistic? Does Russia have a case, or is Google right on this one?
Google is right on this one. I think this is an easy one. There's no inalienable requirement to provide access to your platform to anyone. This is not a legal thing. Google makes the rules when it sets up a service. And if you violate those terms, which Google says it did, it's all in those terms of service, they reserve the right to shut you down. And so that's exactly what happened. Now, of course, this is a Russian court. The concept of due diligence, due process, not quite a thing there. So it's really more of a kangaroo court than anything. But, this is kind of an illustration of, if you build the playgrounds and you make the rules, you get to enforce those rules. And even here we are 4 years later, the Russian Google arm, the local subsidiary, has stopped operating in the country. They no longer do commercial business in Russia. So you can find them all you want. They're just going to shrug, move away, and never going to pay it.
Okay, and before I ask this last question, we're going to pull up on the banner. Look at the bottom of the TV screen there. This is the number and how it looks when you actually.
Too many.
We didn't even get the decimal points in either.
Yeah, let me check my wallet. I don't think I have enough to cover that. Sorry.
So, can Russians use Google, or do they, now that there's no Russian version of Google, can they still access it?
They can. So the company isn't actively selling advertising or selling services in Russia, but the free services that they provide are still available to Russian citizens who still want to engage. So it's kind of there's no business presence there, but we know the internet doesn't have any borders. And as far as we can tell, the Russian government has not stopped Google's traffic from flowing within its borders. So technically, yes, from a business perspective, it's almost like they've put the country behind them.
All right, and this may be the thing that breaks the camel's back, though, because tomorrow is going to be $40 decillion.
No, better get on that very quickly.
Carmi, thank you as always for joining us, sir. Appreciate it.